Hey everybody, it's Michael Whalen, and this is the Artist Expansion Podcast. This is episode number 19. And I took a little break since the last episode. I've been busy. I released an album. I started doing meditations. I started doing a bunch of other things. I finished an album that I have coming up in October, a holiday record, which people have been beating me over the head for 30 years. So that's finished. So did a lot of stuff. But now I'm back, and I am so happy to talk to you guys. And thank you so much to so many of you who reached out, sent me an email, sent me a note on social media. I really appreciate it. Oh, did you cancel the podcast? No, I've just been busy doing stuff, which is a perfect transition to what I want to talk about today, which is you're a content maker. Now, some of you may know that. But this conversation is a direct result of a, do I want to say argument? Okay. It was a conversation where voices began to get louder because we were the two of us having this conversation. We're pretty sure that the other person wasn't listening. And the point that I was making is that making music is one track of about 4 tracks that you're on as an artist at this time. So this whole idea of my music speaks for itself. Oh, God. I don't think that's ever been true. Seriously, I don't think it's ever been true. Like, watch a press conference of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or the Who or Elvis from the 60s, where they're talking about their new album, their tour, whatever, because there's always a frame, there's always a context to be created. You could go farther back. You could go back to the 1920s and the 1930s. Look at what Pablo Picasso was doing with the media, talking about his art. The guy was a genius, marketing genius. But he was not letting the art speak for itself. He was creating a context, and he was pulling strings, and he was making things happen. Really, really interesting guy. Highly, highly recommend that you read one of the many biographies about him, because as a marketer, he was really ahead on how to use the media to get your message out and to get people interested. Now, yes, he was a genius. He was a great artist. But I don't think the story of him would be as sort of profoundly felt without his own intervention. Now, fast forward, almost 100 years later, absolutely positively, you cannot have a career, a 100% career, without being a content creator on top of your music. Now, some people hate the idea that your music would be content. It's art. Sure. But being a content creator is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'm not telling you about my own music. I create other media for that, and I do music videos, and I do interviews, and I do stuff, and great. So by me doing this podcast, I've created a whole other lane for people to get to know me outside of just being an artist. Interesting. So you might say to yourself, I'm so busy creating my art. I'm so crazy trying to get gigs. I'm so busy trying to do all this stuff in my life. I don't have the time or wherewithal to go out and create another lane of content. So in my introduction, I said, hey, I started a meditation series. Did that go whizzing by you? Okay, well, I hope not. Now, as a guy who does instrumental, new age, ambient music, blah, 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 doing a meditation series isn't necessarily like huge news, but I am speaking. They're guided meditations. So for me, it's a pretty big change because now it's really fixated on my voice. Yes, I'm doing music, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is I'm looking at it again as another track which may or may not lead people back to my music. Not everything you do as an artist is in order to bring people back to your music. Sometimes you create multiple tracks because you've got multiple kinds of expression. There's multiple income streams that you can get from this. So you want to look at, you are a content creator in a very large context. 360 degrees, guys. And that, more than anything, you want to look at the opportunity to be creating. Yeah, you get your name out there. Yeah, people get to know you. Yeah, it's maybe a way of expanding your brand. We could have a whole brand conversation about what is brand. I think doing multiple tracks of content can be an expansion of your brand if you're really clear about what your brand is. So you may want to look at this and say, okay, well, if I'm going to create other pieces of content, should they be somehow connected back to music, literally? Okay. Making music, producing music, playing music. Okay. They don't have to be. They don't have to be. You could have a music career and you could promote your records. You guys do promote your music, right? Please say yes. But on top of that, you could have content which is not necessarily literally a promotion for your music. So you want to look at it sort of in two possible categories. One is, I'm going to create other kinds of content which does not directly go back to what I do as an artist. Or, number two, it's an extension of what I'm doing. So like a guy who's a rock guitar player all of a sudden gives guitar lessons and then says, okay, well, you saw me play live as an artist, now you can hire me to be your teacher. You want to look at this in the broadest possible content because we're really talking about survival here. And you really want to have as many different opportunities to be creating money passively and actively as you possibly can. Because things are changing. We talked about artificial intelligence. We'll talk about it some more. We'll talk about what's happening with live shows. Lots of changes happening there. Lots of expectations there. And people are very, very, very worried now about spending discretionary money on things like going to the movies, going to sporting events, going to live shows, because they're so expensive. You want to look and say, how do I create other sources of income for myself? Yes, there will be a place for you to make music. But I think for you to expect going into the future that 100% of your income will come from royalties, residuals, sync license fees, all of that stuff, maybe not. The balances are changing, the expectations are changing, and how money is being spent is changing. You want to look for yourself. What are you going to do on top of being an artist? Anybody I know who is successful has 2, 3, 4 jobs, part-time jobs on top of making music and producing music and getting the word out about their music. It's a lot. I know it is. But at the same time, I think you want to think like an entrepreneur. You want to think like somebody who's really, really, really ready for the challenges that are coming because they're here right now. So how are you going to be adjusting your expectations, your life, how you express yourself in a way that could really pay dividends for you down the road. I really hope this helps.